No deal with Iran again today. My next guest says that is okay because we simply cannot trust Iran to be faithful to any agreement. Joining me now in a Fox Business exclusive is Tennessee Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking at the AP right now, and they are reporting that diplomats familiar with the talks say that the announcement could come, that there is a deal in the pre-dawn hours tomorrow. As early as tomorrow morning before we get up, we could hear there's a deal. What's your reaction to that?
That would be disappointing to hear. You know, one of the things that we in Congress want to make certain of is that this is not going to lead to Iran getting a nuclear weapon. And there's a lot of looking at this and a lot of dissatisfaction with how these talks have been carried out, and people want to make certain that Iran still feels the pressure. That is one of the things that we have heard from General Dempsey and so many others that have looked at this process.
Yeah. You know, we were talking earlier in the show to an international security expert who was on, Jim Walsh, who was making the case for why this is a good deal, saying that, you know, we are getting a meaningful reduction in the number of centrifuges, that it is an improvement on where we are, and that the only thing that worse than what we have now is an Iran with nuclear capability, and that this is a step in the right direction. How do you respond to that? I
respond to that by saying they still have their reactors, they still have the centrifuges, they still have uranium, they still are pushing back on us without wanting to have transparency and full disclosure. And we know that if there is any slight chance that Iran is going to have a nuclear weapon, then you can look at what Saudi Arabia has said they're going to do in response. You can look at what Israel is saying. And, you know, what we have is this issue where our friends and allies are saying, where have you been, America, and can we trust you? And our enemies are saying, look, you've vacated the playing field. So it is of tremendous concern that there would be a deal that would not give us the transparency, that would do away with the sanctions, that would not keep the pressure on Iran.
Yeah.
The pressure needs to stay on them.
So you obviously have an inside view, and you're talking to people there. If this deal is announced before tomorrow morning, you all are up next. How does it play out from there?
I think you'll see Congress take the 60 days to look at it, and I don't know if you're going to see approval of this or not. There is a tremendous amount of concern of what would happen in the Middle East, and if this agreement would be in such a way that 10 years, 20 years down the road, you are opening up a pathway for Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Look at Russia and China and the way they have said that they think the sanctions should have come off. Well, who do you think is selling arms to Iran? And where is Iran putting those arms? Who are they incentivizing? I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions on this. National security is the top issue, especially among women right now. And we don't want ISIS, Al-Qaeda, these terrorist groups. We don't want a nuclear active Iran, and you're going to see a tremendous amount of focus put on this issue as we go in the next couple of months and moving on into 2016.
But people who are in favor of the deal say this is a step in the right direction because you're bringing everyone to the table. You saw Iran's president tweeting that this is about mutual respect and coming together and ending an era of gridlock, in effect. You know, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but ending this paradigm, there it is, of exclusion and coercion, that is outdated, and that this would mean that that is over. Is there any validity to that argument? Because it's getting traction on the other side.
I have a very difficult time looking at someone who does not respect what the United States of America stands for and has citizens chanting in the streets, "Death to America," and stomping on our flag, as seeing an agreement as a positive step forward, especially if there is a lack of transparency, especially if it gives them the ability to trade arms, especially if it is going to give them the ability to come out from under these sanctions. I just have a really tough time seeing how that is going to be beneficial to the cause of freedom and to the United States of America.
Congresswoman Blackburn, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We've got a few